Hello and welcome to the first in-depth explanation of the races of Fiery Void. I will try to say a lot less this time. I don't know if I will succeed, but I will give it a good go. So, in Fiery Void you have a number of races you can play. You have major races, the four well, not oldest races of the show and the game, but races that are well established and have a good fleet size and a good number of ships you can actually use. Earth, Narn, Centauri, and Minbari are the four main races. By playing these races, you have should be balanced against each other, so you can have a good choice of capital ships, heavy combat vessels, minor ships, and fighters. There are a lot other races. There are smaller league worlds with fleet sizes and fleet capacities that are not as established as the large ones. But that doesn't mean they are less fun to play. Well, I'm going to give you an in-depth, closer look at the Centauri, as they're called, or the main accent of the main character in Babylon 5 uses a lot. I will say Centauri and not Centauri to actually not get on your nerves. They were my favorite race from the get-go, from the first start. Why? Well, they're the lion of the galaxy. They're bold, they're brash, they're purple and gold, so it has a funky color scheme. They have lasers, they have high tech, a lot of advantages, but also a lot of disadvantages. As I tend to believe, and a lot of people would disagree with me, with Centauri, you're actually punching up towards the rest of the races a lot. They're not the easiest race to start with, to actually learn how to play. There are more difficult, but there are a lot more easy races to actually have a better chance in winning. For Narn, for instance, I'm a Centauri player, so at heart, so it's logical that I would call the Narn cheaters and easier to play with. Well, a lot of Narn players would disagree with me, but hey, that's the way it goes, I guess. So, who are the Centauri? Well, Centauri are a medium level race. They have been around for a certain long time, and their main advantages are long range. They have battle lasers, and the battle lasers shoot from a large distance. They have a lot of wolfpack ships, like the Vorchan and the Demos. They can actually throw together a wolfpack of a certain vessels and really go to town on a lot of the large capital vessels the other races have. Their biggest disadvantage actually is not having a main fighter. Their fighters are usually used as interceptors, not as attack fighters. And they're nimble and they're fairly cheap, but confronted by a large number of enemy fighters, they can have a problem. They also have good intercept, a lot of small turrets, twin arrays that actually can throw out a fairly amount of defensive fire, and also their ships are capable of destroying fighters fairly easy due to a large net of twin arrays. So I'm going to show you actually in Fiery Void what they can do. I'll try to keep this this video under 15 or 20 minutes. I'll hope if I succeed, because there are a lot of ships I actually have to go on. If you make a new game and you can choose your fleet or purchase your fleet, you have 1, 2, 3 different possibilities for Centauri. Well, Centauri Wars of the Centauri Republic are basically old ships. They are ships that are 200, 300 years old, with older armaments, older ships. have been taken out of mothballs and actually used again by the poorer houses of the Centauri. They are usable. You can easily use them in a fight, but they are not cutting edge. They're not really modern, but a lot of choices there, so you can actually have a large number of possibilities to use them in fights against maybe League worlds or less developed races. But we're going to focus on the main Centauri vessels for this video. At the top you have your immobile structures, your bases. Those are not really used in fleet battles. They can be, but they're mainly scenario pieces to actually be used. You have the Kraken, which is the largest base. I'll show you a detail for the Kraken. It's actually very large with a lot of armaments and a lot of fighters, and it's actually a very fun base to use. The OSATs are actually satellites. They're smaller satellites you can plant around your bases with just 2 battle lasers and 2 twin arrays, but also fun to be used in scenarios. Now, the capital ships. The bread and butter of the Centauri fleet. On top, 1350 points. Most common battles are 3500 points. So when you fork out 1350 for an Arcturian, well, that's a third of your point cost. So it's a lot of points to be put just in one ship. It's a tough ship, it's a large ship, but still, if it's confronted by a large number of smaller ships, it will go down like paper tissue. The Drazi, for instance, take 1350 points of Drazi ships and your Arcturian is gone, I guess. I will show the details. When you open a ship detail, you get this little screen over here, the class Arcturian. This is a picture of the Arcturian. And this is what it has. It has a complement of 24 fighters. It's a capital ship, and you have to have 1 capital ship in your fleet to actually be legal. It only can have 33 of your total points, so you cannot take 2 Arcturians in a 3,500 point battle. And it's been in service since 2202, so that's 200 years in our future. When you see this, I'm not going to go over each weapon. I'll do that in a later video. I'll just say what it's good for the Arcturian and give you a little bit of information when to use it or when not to use it. If I can give you a tip, do not use an Arcturian in a 3,500 pointer. If you get 5,000 points, or better even 7,000, throw in one of these, sure, why not? It has, compared to the other capital ships and mother ships even, not that much of weapons. It only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 large weapons or heavy weapons, the battle laser, and that's it. It doesn't have a large weapon like a heavy particle cannon or a mass driver or none of that. It has just 6 pointy, stingy lasers at one side and 6 at the other side. I say one side and the other side because the easiest way actually to use an Arcturian is actually use it as a long range platform where you can fire 1, 2, 3 on one side and 1, 2, 3 on the other side. One turn nothing and rinse and repeat. So it's actually a steady barrage of long range fire. If enemy ships should come close, it can do the same with 1, 2, 3 matter cannons of one side, 1, 2, 3 matter cannons on the other side. Should things really come close, it has really a lot of twin arrays to fire at close ships and fighters. What you can do is you can shut down all the twin arrays, you can shut down all the matter cannons for power, invest those power in your scanner size. You can go up to 12 and just fire the battle lasers with a large scanner size. That's one of the advantages of being a Centauri also. 10 is good, it's fairly good. Earth, for instance, has 8 or 7 on some ships. The Minbari have more, but they're more modern than the Centauri. But, well, 10 is really good, but you can beef it up to 12. The ship is fairly agile for a very large ship as well. But as I said, use it in 5,000 points battle. Now, the Primus, the mainstay of the Centauri. It's actually the ship that it's together with the Fortune used the most in the series. It looks like a giant manta, the sea creature, and it's the Go factory ship of the Centauri. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 battle lasers and some twin arrays. That's it. Also 10 scanner range, which is good. 12 fighters, but it doesn't rely on fighters actually to defend itself. Those are interceptors, but when you're going out with a Centauri fleet and you only want to fly with fighters, you're picking the wrong race. That's it. So again, you can shut down the twin arrays and beef up this to 11, I guess, not 12, because that's not possible. And again, 2 on one side, fire, 2 on the other side, fire, 1 turn, nothing, 2 on one side, fire, rinse, repeat. When you have a couple of those and you're getting close and you can pepper your enemy with all your twin arrays with a couple of ships, they're dead as well. But this is actually an artillery platform to be used at the very edge of your map. It can hit ships that aren't defending themselves at the other range of the map quite easily. So it's artillery. Here you see under the Primus we just shown a lot of variants to the Primus. The Primus Maximus, that's it wasn't a legal ship when we played it. It's been made afterwards. It's 1,000 points, which is a little bit more expensive, but it has 6 battle lasers instead of the 4. So, but it's a rare ship, so you can only have 1 in your fleet. C is common; you can have as many as you want. The Secundus is almost as expensive as the Primus Maximus. It's actually a close-range ship, so you have heavy arrays that can fire twice every round with serious damage, but the problem with this ship is they're all in the front. If the front is blown off, you have a very large ship with only a couple of twin arrays and you just wasted almost 1,000 points. So if you're going to have a wolf pack and you have a lot of other large ships they can fire on and you can keep this one safe, sure, it's a surprise package to send in deep, but I wouldn't go. I wouldn't use it as a sensible choice. The Emperor's Transport is also a ship. It only has twin arrays, it's only 550 points, and it's actually a scenario ship to cruise around the Emperor as his personal vessel. That's the Primus. Next ship on the agenda is the Dargan Strike Cruiser. It's a common ship, but it can only be 10% of your list. So if you want a second one, you have to go more than 7,500 points to actually field the second one. This is actually a very special ship. It's also a very pretty ship. Why special? Well, it only has 2 battle lasers and 3 matter cannons, so armament, it's not that important, it's not that fierce, but it's an Elint ship. Elint means that it's a radar ship that can actually boost your other ships or protect your other ships. And actually use as a something to empower your ships to hit the other ones more easily, or defend the other ships, or break the other's radar lock on you. It has a couple of possibilities, and I'm sure that Dougie will do an Elint video to actually help you with that. It also is a chameleon sensor ship, which meant that, well, in this game it has no purpose or no use, it's not programmed, but you could in the past put another ship on the table if you were playing a tabletop, and then when another ship came close you can go, haha, it's not that ship, it's actually a Dargan Strike Cruiser. Fear, not really, but it was something nice to do in a game where you can actually dress up another ship as a Dargan and not, well, it didn't have a huge impact. But The most important about this ship, not the lasers, not the fact that it's a radar ship and a Lin ship, but it's Rutarian capable. The Rutarian, here is it, it's a strike fighter. It's the only strike fighter the Centauri have, and it's actually the only decent fighter they have. I will show you in a detail. It's agile, it's fast, and it has stealth capabilities, so you cannot fire on them more than 5 hexes away. If it succeeds in putting itself 5 hexes away from your ships, you're not going to hit it. Plus, it has a gun and an ion bolt, which does a fairly amount of damage as well. The Rutarian is a great fighter. But it can only be used on a Dargan strike cruiser, also on the Balvarix. I will get to that one a little bit later. But they are the only 2 ships that it can actually take. And the Balvarix is a rare ship, so you're not going to be able to be fielding a lot of Rutarians. Well, shame, actually. So that was the Dargan. Next one is the Kovran Scout. It's a Scout for 730 points, which is expensive. Why is it expensive? It has radar capabilities of 14. It has a degree of 14, which is high. It's a really high amount. You can actually do a lot of lock breaking, boosting of other ships' radar, or cloaking them. It only has anti-fighter capabilities. It's agile. It's close up. You do not want to be a fighter flight when it has a 14-point lock on you with some twin arrays. You're a dead fighter flight. It's easy as that. But in small squadrons of 3,500 points, small fleets, it's not actually, you're not going to get the much bang for your buck, if I can use an American slang. It's good in 5,000 or 7,000. Well, some people may disagree. The Centurion for a capital vessel is actually a trench fighter, they call it, because it's a jack of all trades. They can do anything. They can go long range, they can go medium range with the matter cannons, and they go short range with the twin arrays. It has good coverage all around. It has an excellent radar suite. It has good thruster capabilities. It can do 2 turns, 7 speed, which for a capital vessel is really good. So it can actually zip around. The problem here as well, with a lot of, some Centauri vessels blow off the nose, and well, it's bye-bye. It only has a couple of weapons to actually do something with, but it's not that expensive, and it's a really good centerpiece of a wolf pack. It can go in and out, no problem. The Decurion is actually a scenario vessel, which has tractor beams and guardian arrays, but never use it in battle. Assault shuttles, why would you? It's actually for scenarios where people actually played with asteroids, and there goes the voice, with asteroids, but not in... I haven't used it once in 5 or 10 years, I guess. Alright, going on to the carriers. The Balvarin carrier is the main carrier of the Centauri. It's 36 medium fighters, which is a lot. 36 of the Sentries, or the Citara, if you want an uncommon variant to the Sentries. 36 Sentries sounds like a lot, but as I told you before, the fighters aren't that great. They're interceptors, they're not for attacking. And the ship actually on its own doesn't do a lot much. When you have carriers of other races, they can actually, well, fight along. This really can't. It has a couple of anti-fighter guardian arrays, anti-fire twin arrays, and that's it. Nothing more. So why would you? The Balvarix, I brushed upon that just earlier, it has 2 matter cannons, so it can fight. It has some teeth. It can take Rutarians. Sure, why not? If you want to field a carrier, field this one, but think it's a rare, so you can only have one rare choice. If you have this one, you cannot field a Primus Maximus, for instance. or another rare ship. So choices. Well, those are the capital vessels. I will, with Dougie, we agreed actually on having smaller